In today's episode, we are joined by Laura Wilbur, who works for Dinova. Her and I met at a conference a couple years ago, and in today's episode, she's going to share how you can attract corporate guests who statistically spend more and drive higher levels of frequency and profit to your restaurant. If you don't know me, my name is Jeremy Julian. I am the Chief Revenue Officer for CBS North Star. We developed the North Star point of sale product that is geared towards multi-unit restaurants. Check us out at cbsnorthstar.com. And now on to our episode. Welcome back to the Restaurant Technology Guys podcast. I thank everyone out there for joining us. As I say each and every time, I don't take your guys' time for granted. And so thank you guys for joining us. I know you guys got lots of other choices. Today is a fun story because Laura and I met a couple of years ago through a mutual introduction. I'm going to let her tell her story a little bit more here in just a second. But very few times in the restaurant industry am I at a conference and one of the people that I'm talking to says, you really got to know who Laura is. And so, Laura, why don't you introduce yourself? Who is Laura? Tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your background, and then we can get into what you get to do professionally for a
Thank
living.
you so much, Jeremy. My name is Laura, and I help busy restaurant operators get more expense account diners into their restaurants and keep the ones they have. I live in North San Diego County, Encinitas. I'm a mom to two kids, one who's a nurse, Sarah. She's a NICU nurse. And our son, Nick, sells financial services in Phoenix, Arizona. Two fluffy dogs sitting over there that may decide to say hi sometime during our conversation. But I've spent my whole career trying to help businesses grow. And I'm just really thankful to be working in this space, which is exclusively with business diners or expense account diners paying with the company's money.
I love that. And again, I know we met at a restaurant conference, and I love that are passionate about this industry because I know we were talking about it pre-show, and oftentimes we'll do a 10 or 15 minutes with every one of our guests on the show, and we'll talk. Help me understand. Talk to me a little bit about it. And so I love that you're so passionate about that. For those that don't quite understand or can't get their head around, how do you get expense diners, business diners? Help tease that out a little bit because I think it's a unique value proposition, and part of why I wanted to share your story and the story of what you guys get to do professionally with our
Oh,
audience.
thanks for asking. If you think of it as the overall expense management function for a large company or government agency, they have procurement officers and folks in at the corporate office whose job it is to manage their expenses, right? So these folks will have direct relationships with airlines, hotel groups, and rental car companies that they're able to manage themselves because there are only a handful of players large enough to accommodate their needs. And for example, they'll send out a request for proposal to, let's say, the top five airlines and say, hey, we're going to spend X million dollars on air travel in the next few years. Who wants to be our partner? They'll pick one. They'll alert all their teams traveling for business using a company card. Hey, everybody, we're flying. American is our partner, right? So if you have a business meeting in a city American doesn't fly to, you can fly United, but as a good steward of company resources, we need you to fly American, drive the partner rental car, stay at the partner hotel, and dine at one of the partner restaurants. So, because of the fragmented nature of the restaurant biz, they do very well, they just don't have the
Mhm.
bandwidth to have conversations and figure out who are these great restaurants that we should be going to, which restaurants might want to be our partner and have us start shifting our spending to them, and who might be able or interested in giving us some consideration if we do shift our spending to them. So they outsource that to Dinova. Dinova's been at it about 16 years. And we have about 560 global companies that have hired us to run this network for them, as well as very large government agencies.
Yeah, so I'm there's so many questions, Laura. So I'm going to start at the top. So if I'm one of those brands, say I'm Hilton Hotels, and not all Hilton properties have a restaurant inside of them, but I want to now send our executives out, and they're going to go out and be whining and dining. But I have been that same consumer, and we will talk a little bit about your previous experience. I am that guy. I'm the guy that picks when we're going out of town. I'm the person that picks oftentimes where we're going to eat. What is the meal? I mean, literally an hour ago, I was talking. We have a show next week in Dallas in my hometown where I live, and there's a show next week, and we're bringing a customer out to finish up signing up a deal. And the sales rep goes, "I'm not from Dallas. Help me understand where we need to go." So tease that out a little bit for me. I'm Hilton. I'm now going to Dallas for this conference and I'm now going for this conference. Help me understand what that would look like, both from the brand side, the restaurant brand side, and then really from the consumer side, the guy that's making the choice to go to X brand for a
Okay,
meal.
I love it. So if you happen to be working at a Fortune 1000 company, you would most likely have some sort of travel policy related to who
Hmm.
your partners are, right? Because you're a business owner, you get to pick, right? So that's just, yeah,
Yes, I do. Whether I feel like ribeye or I feel like fish today, I get to
there
choose where
you
I'm
go.
going. But I
Like
get that
any
at a
restaurant.
big company,
Yeah,
there's yeah, exactly. But at a big company, you have certain policies that you got to adhere
right.
to. So keep teasing that
Okay.
out for me.
So what you would do is you would go to your expense management tool, so Concur or Tripism or whatever, or you could go to the
Hmm.
Dinova app, which is just dinova.com for restaurants. You would click on that. And then there would be a list of all the restaurants in the city that you're going to in Dallas. So I could do it on my phone as we talk. I'll just pull up the search real quick. It's a real easy, something for your smartphone. And so for Dallas, I would just type in Dallas or actually the zip code. So you're at the Gaylord.
It's in Grapevine.
Okay.
It's at the
Okay.
Gaylord in Grapevine.
So I'll just do search. And so it'll come up as when you can probably just barely see the cuisine images,
Okay.
right? But if you get
Yep.
really specific and you do the search from your hotel, the Gaylord Texan in
Hmm.
Grapevine, it'll show you all the restaurants that are closest in proximity to where you're staying. And you can pick by
Okay.
cuisine type. You can pick by, do they have a private dining room? Do they offer catering if you want to bring food in to the resort for a team or for a group of clients or something of that nature? So, Pegasus City Brewery, Moe's Southwest Grill, Press Box Grill, Monarch, Sushi Bar Dallas, Paparazzi Chop House, Mendocino Farms, Les Madeline, the Operators Club, Truth and Alibi, Cheap Steaks, Deep Sushi. So lots and lots of options in
Okay.
Dallas. So you would likely find what you needed based on cuisine type and level of service.
Okay. And so with that, as the consumer that's using this product, I'm looking for a business meal. I'm looking for what's the value to me other than it meets my policy and my boss isn't going to yell at me about my expense
Right.
report. Most Southwest is a fast casual concept. It's not taking a client, likely you're not going to take a client out to Moe's
Right.
Southwest for a business meal. Nothing wrong with Moe's Southwest. It's awesome, great food, but you're probably not going to take a client out to that. Some of those other options that you rattled off that were in Dallas, you would take a client to. And so what would the value for me be if I'm just, you know what, I've got a per diem. I know that I can go spend it at Chipotle or Moe's or Qdoba, which are all very similar price points of all very similar products. And you know what? I'm going to go do that. So talk me through as the person that's at one of those Fortune 1000 companies, why would I choose to go to Moe's and even go look that up if I'm just having a solitary meal versus going and looking for a business meal type of thing? And then we can tease out the business
Okay,
meal stuff.
sounds great. So yes, as you know, with when you're traveling for business, you need a solution from morning coffee to last call at the bar to a quick drive-through to a bagel, whatever you need, right? And
Hmm.
for me, as I mentioned earlier, being a good steward of company resources, it's you're a business owner, right? When you onboard somebody and you tell them the rules, if you're going to give them a company card, there are just a few rules, right? You have a policy. And so most of the folks that are traveling for official company business are good stewards of company resources. Not every company has a policy. Again, we're only working with about half of the Fortune 1000, so I'm not sure what they do, but really it's the conscientious traveler that's doing their best
Uh
to
huh.
be a good steward. In addition to that, they earn reward points individually when they dine at an in network restaurant that they can redeem for different gift cards or whatever items that they would like on the Genova marketplace.
Okay. That's as a diner, I get rewarded for using so instead of going to Chipotle, and nothing wrong with
Right.
Chipotle, but instead of going to Chipotle, if I choose to go to Moe's, it's gonna benefit me as the user of that app
Yes.
and of your guys'
Yes.
solution. Okay. At corporate, I think I get what their benefit is. Corporate's gonna be able to get the benefit of they're gonna know where those things are at. It's a little bit easier. Do they also get rewarded for partnering with
Yes.
them? So if I am American Airlines or if I'm Hilton and I'm now a partner of yours and I've now put this policy in place, do they also get
Ye
and now a word from one of our sponsors. Every restaurant operator understands the chaos of a restaurant kitchen during the meal rush. Restaurant Technologies Total Oil Management Solutions is an end-to-end automated oil management system that delivers, filters, monitors, and recycles your cooking oil, taking the dirtiest jobs out of your kitchen and letting your employees focus on more important tasks. Control the kitchen chaos with Restaurant Technologies and make your kitchen safer. No upfront cost. To learn more, check out rti-inc.com or call 888-796-4996.
Yes, that's a good point that I think I left out, Jeremy, is that the whole reason that they shipped their dining spend to their partners is that they received some consideration back from the partner. And in the case of Dinova, it's a loyalty rebate as a percentage of what they spend once a month. And it's a
Okay.
relatively small percent compared to certainly third-party delivery or other third-party solutions out there. But there is a cash, if you will, loyalty rebate that the restaurants provide to the corporations that ship their spending to them. The reason that they believe that makes sense is that it's early and midweek when the restaurant's not at capacity typically. And the average check
Mm-hmm.
when the company's buying is 50 to 200% higher than when a consumer is paying with their own money. And especially right now, as consumers are pulling back due to inflation and a variety of reasons, traffic is down. That's no secret. Consumers
Mm-hmm.
are just watching their pennies a little bit closer. Things have gotten a lot more expensive since the pandemic. So if consumer traffic is down and you have empty and perishing inventory, empty seats early and midweek, why not invite a high spending business diner there? The business diners want to be home for dinner with their family by Friday night if they can. And they're not familiar with your menu per se. They don't care or know if you've had to raise prices on your menu 5 times in the last 3 years. They're willing to pay for a great experience.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's a fantastic from the which really shifts, I guess, from the restaurant side. They're looking for more diners. They're looking for more wallet spend. They're looking for to hit that to get to that consumer. What other advantages does the restaurant see other than potentially an uptick in guest count and in, I guess, just guest count and really traffic? Because I know for myself, and again, example I chose, and again, business owner, I can make the choices. I always like to dine at restaurants that we do business with, which is always good because then I can give feedback to the owners. Did I have a good experience? Did I have a bad experience? But I also know when I'm taking somebody out that I'm trying to court, I know what I want my experience to look like. And so there's a reason I chose to go to this one brand versus a different brand. And we can talk through that. But what other benefits does the restaurant receive other than the potential of extra traffic from that?
Thankfully, it's guaranteed extra traffic, right? So we know that when you go live and you get added to company policy, there are 18 million corporate cardholders that we're
Oh my
managing
goodness.
this dining network for,
Okay.
right? You're absolutely going to get some business from it. I have signed up. There's a yogurt shop with 2 locations in Murrieta, Georgia. They are not seeing a ton of business travelers through, but they are getting some, right? So why not be in the network? It doesn't cost
Mhm.
you anything to join the network. And if nobody comes, all you've done is gained exposure to a really high value guest. So there's great value in that, right? There's no work whatsoever for staff or guest. We're not in your POS, which I know is your business. There are no
Yes.
tablets. There's no special loyalty cards or anything. It's all tracked through the company card. And the data is managed by the corporations themselves. For that reason, for the restaurant, no friction, no discounting to the consumer either. These consumers are
Mhm.
paying full price. They're telling their colleagues about a great restaurant in the city. They're not exposed to your local marketing because 71% of the guests we send any restaurant are coming in from out of area. And you just gave that example, Jeremy, about how you're in this case of this conference that happens to be in your home city. You are in your home market and the company will pick up
Uh-huh.
the tab for that dinner. But usually it's a vendor traveling to see their customer
Yep.
who isn't necessarily in their home market. They're not as familiar with the restaurants. And so they're reliant on their corporate company policy to identify who are our partners. We already know colleagues have had great experiences there. They've been vetted, and that's how they're finding the restaurants.
So I've got two series of questions. The first of which is really wrapped around you. You just made a comment that says they're going to get a good experience if they're in network. Talk to me about how you guys monitor and manage that to ensure that these business diners aren't constantly having bad experiences. Obviously, you guys can't manage every transaction or every, you said 18 million corporate crowd. And that's insane to me that you guys are driving that much potential traffic. So looking at that there, but if I happen to go to XYZ Ruth Chris and I had a bad experience in the city, that could be poor to the network effect. Talk to me a little bit about how you guys manage that. Because when you look at other third party marketplaces, whether that's a DoorDash, whether that's a Yelp, whether that's a Google, other, and I say third party marketplaces, other places where you can go do discovery of where you want to go, you can see the reviews. Do you guys do something similar to that? Do you guys pull them from the network? Talk me through a little bit of how that whole thing would work if in fact you guys are constantly seeing poor performance.
Yeah.
Growing your business can mean big time logistical questions like how am I going to keep up with all these local deliveries? Let Uber Direct offer you a helping hand. With Uber Direct, you can take orders on your website, via app, or by phone. Then drivers who are part of the Uber Courier network will pick them up from your store and deliver them to your customers' doorsteps. Sounds simple, right? Delivery just got better with Uber Direct. Check out uberdirect.com to learn more.
We don't have a problem with that. So we'll hear directly from our corporate clients if there is a problem, which is incredibly rare. So these corporate diners like yourself, right? These are business leaders, business owners in some cases, and they're very experienced in their ordering of catering or ordering food for
Mhm.
teams. They're very specific about what they want and need, and they're just savvy customers. They know if there's a
Yeah.
bad experience that the right thing to do is to deal directly with the restaurant on that and
Yep.
allow the restaurant the chance to make it right. We don't hear, thankfully, at least in my role, we don't hear much about any negative experiences. And really just the vetting of the restaurants, right? So we get referrals like I know you do for your company, for your POS company.
Yep.
So those are a lot of our restaurants that are in our network are referred by other great restaurants in our network. And people will vouch for the
Love that.
restaurants and say, "Hey, this is a great restaurant. My buddy works over here," or they've had a great experience at the restaurant and they believe that more business diners would enjoy it. But certainly, just like you, Jeremy, when you're vetting a new restaurant partner to potentially add as a customer, you're doing your due
Mhm.
diligence about the business, right? Spending
Yep. Just to make sure that they're not going to be a bad customer, because at the end of the day, that hurts all of us.
exactly.
So the second thing that I wanted to talk about, Laura, is you said something about an increased spend on corporate dining. And as a owner, I've had to look through expense reports and go, hey, why was this meal so expensive? But statistically, you found that it's, I think you said between 70 and 200% higher than if I was going in with my family for that same meal. Same party of four, same party of six, whatever that meal is, it's that much higher. Talk me through, I'm certain I'm entertaining, different cultural things, different industries, but talk me through, one, what does that really look like? Is the trend even holding as we're getting into this recessionary or whatever you want to call it, inflationary period? Is it still happening? Talk me through a little bit of that, because I think restaurants that aren't exposed to this type of guest should really be considering it, even if, because a lot of times when I talk to people about what you guys do, it's like, I'm a competitor to Moe's. Why would anybody care about this? Which is part of why I want to make sure you tease that out. But that's a huge uptick in sales that they should be able to take advantage of if they're doing it properly. So talk me through, what does the statistics hold? Why do we think that's the case? And where does it go in that? Because they still have a policy to uphold. They still have to deal with the corporate rules for these Fortune 1000 companies. You got both sides on their attention, but you're still seeing that it's significantly
Oh,
higher
yeah.
spend.
And again, take yourself as an example. So when you're eating out with your family, and I don't know how large your family is, Jeremy.
We've
Oh
got
my
4 kids. I
goodness.
do happen to have a son. I happen to have a son named Nick. So when you said Nick was your son, I happen to have a son. He's my oldest. He's a second year in college. And then I've got 3 teenagers, 2 at home, and then a 8-year-old who will turn 9 in a couple of
Oh,
weeks. So life is very full for me.
definitely, definitely. There's a book called Full Catastrophe Living. I'm digressing here, but
Okay.
it's based on the movie Zorba the Greek. And
Okay.
the reason for the catastrophe is Zorba is asked, "Are you married?" And he goes, "Oh yeah, wife, kids, the full catastrophe," right? Which is just the more full
Yep.
your life is, the more chance for great joy and great heartache too. But
Yes. No, I 4 kids is a lot, but and sometimes my parents are like, "What? You guys are never home, you never," but and they're all in competitive sports, and we're very active at church, and so, yes, life is very full, and I happen to run a business
exactly.
that sells point of sale to restaurants that never close, it feels
Right.
like, so sorry, I'll let
No,
you
I
keep
love it.
going.
I love it. So you have a large family. So eating out with your family
Yes.
is probably more expensive than some families or just couples that are going out to eat. But I would imagine that when you're out with your family of 6, you're not always trying the appetizers, ordering trading up on the wine list or ordering the fancy cocktails for everyone to try. You're maybe not ordering desserts or several desserts for everyone to try. You're maybe not ordering the seafood tower as an appetizer. But tell me about your experience when you're entertaining groups for business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You either go around the table and figure out what, "Hey, these are the 3 appetizers," or half the time when I'm doing it, I just order
Exactly.
them. Does anybody at the table really need those extra 1,000
No.
calories in that meal? Probably not, but everybody does, and for somebody that travels 120 nights a year, I eat a lot of meals out, and I often eat more calories than I should when I'm out on the road, so you are 100%
Yes,
correct.
and that's really what drives up that average check, Jeremy, is it's that fun, celebratory splurging, and you and I both
Mhm.
know the time that we get with our existing customers as a chance to say thank you, it's pretty rare, and so
Yep.
when we're at a fine dining restaurant and we have a chance to really sit with them and get to know them, we want to celebrate and experience new fun things on the menu. And Ocean Prime is one of our partners and has been for many years. And that's, I was thinking of the seafood tower there. They also
Mhm.
have,
I've had it multiple times. I've had it where a vendor has paid for it. I've had it where
there
I've had
you
to pay
go.
for it for a customer, so I've been on both sides of that
But you,
equation, and it's
it is,
fantastic.
but it's something again, like you and I are blessed to be able to dine out for business, right? So if
Mhm.
you're going to go with the family, you might say, "I'm gonna wait and get that seafood tower when I'm going for business," and experience
Yes.
that with the
No.
customer. So again, that's a lot of it.
Love that. The last line of questioning is before the show kicked off, you and I talked about your history prior to joining the organization you're with now. Why is it something that you're so passionate about helping both the brands and even the consumers to experience this? Because you were in my role at some point in your career prior to. And so I love that you're so passionate about helping people to achieve success as it relates to this endeavor because prior to meeting you a couple years ago, I didn't even know something like this existed. And so because of it, it's like, why are, and I said it to you prior pre-recording, it's like, why are more people not doing this? And you're like, I don't know to talk to me. Why are you so passionate about making sure that this is such a success for the brands that you guys
Oh my
partner up with?
gosh. There are so many reasons, Jeremy, that I feel, like I said, very blessed to be where I'm at today, representing this network of 24,000 restaurants. Uh, if you break it down to what the solution is for the restaurants, really, when you think about it, it's
Hmm.
automating something that is very time consuming for any of us. So again, you and I as sales professionals, we know how long it takes to get someone on the phone to talk to
Yes.
us or that whole process. Imagine if you were a restaurant trying to get into Fortune 1000 companies and government agencies from across the United States to say,
Yes.
come to my restaurant or my restaurants. And this is the reason why. And we want to partner with you. And we're going to roll out the red carpet and we're going to provide you with an incentive to be our customer. If we think the restaurant operator screening game is good, try top security government agency, right? To try to get that
Yeah.
meeting.
No,
Right.
thanks. Yeah, there's a reason we don't sell to government agencies because they're a pain
Yeah.
in the butt, and the amount of paperwork you gotta go through is really
Yeah.
challenging,
So
so
we're
yes,
so
I get that.
thankful to have most of these companies will white label the Dinova network and call it their company dining program. So one of them is DoD Dine Smart, right? They have their own logo
Okay.
for it. It's something that, that people at the government agency will drive past a lot of restaurants to go to one that's part of company policy. So again, I feel very blessed to be coming to you from my kitchen here in North San Diego
Mhm.
County. I'm blessed to work from home. I didn't always get to do that. So I used to be national sales manager at a large radio group in Los Angeles, really big one. And so my job was to wine and dine my ad agency buyers at restaurants in all the big cities across the country. And I would say, hey, I'll be in New York 1 week every quarter. Which Michelin starred restaurant haven't you dined at yet? And then we would just go to those restaurants for a week, right? And then do it again in another city. And I remember in Chicago one year when Chef Charlie Trotter was still alive, I had a week that all of my customers wanted to go to Charlie Trotter's restaurant. So I think,
Yeah, that's not a bad gig for him.
right,
He's pretty
yes,
amazing.
he was. And the chance to get to meet him in the kitchen. And because if you're a customer that's coming in that much, and I
Mhm.
think I was there.
They get to know who you are because you're
Yeah,
spending a
and
lot with
I'm
them.
also like very curious and friendly and definitely want to see behind the curtain and figure out what makes this place tick. So again, that was part of my career in the past as to experiencing a great restaurant experience as a business traveler and a business diner. And so fast forward to now, I'm really looking for restaurant operators and for my customers to figure out what's the lowest cost way that I can acquire the highest value guest at my restaurant and not really have to do a lot of heavy lifting. Because as we know,
Mhm.
restaurant operators are incredibly busy. Their attention and time is stretched really thin. So, our solution at Dinova Corporate Dining is to tell that story for these great restaurant operators to the who's who in business and government travel. That's all we do is say, hey, you're traveling to Dallas. You need to make sure that you're dining at these great restaurants, and here are the reasons why. And same goes for every city in the US and in Canada.
I love that. Not necessarily related to what you do every day, but are there any best practices that you've found for corporate dining? I happen to, so one of our clients is Perry's Steakhouse based in Houston. Fantastic food if you've not gotten a chance to go to Perry's. And I happen to have our host our Christmas
Nice.
party there for our Dallas based staff. It was one of the most remarkable private dining pre experiences that I had. And from pre experience, they did a great job of prepping the menu, what was going to be on the tables, what was where they failed, which I say they failed, and I've talked to them about this, so I don't feel like I'm talking out of school. Where they struggled is at the end of the meal that I was sitting behind in a big long table, and they didn't just take care of the check and deal with it. So I had to get up and go pay the check and deal with all of that, which I told them, hey, you knew I already told you that I was just gonna just put it on keep it on the
Right.
same card. So it created a little bit of an awkward experience for me at the end. It happened to be all my staff and their spouses, so it was easy. And at the same time, the pre-experience was great. I've also had the opposite happen where you show up and you're supposed to have a reservation for 20 and it's not great. And you're like, oh crap, what are we going to do? I got customer. And so are there any best practices that you have learned through dealing with this group of people and group of restaurants that you might give to our audience that they need to consider if they're going to go down this path of truly being a destination for corporate dining?
Yes. And really, it's what you said about the pre work, right? So if a restaurant doesn't already have on their website different tabs related to private dining, semi private dining, catering, carry out, to go, third party delivery, whatever they have, make it absolutely obvious for the business decision maker to figure out, oh, your restaurant does do this. And then take
Mhm.
it further too. So, in your experience, I'm not sure if Perry's had a form for you to fill out online. Did they? Okay.
They did. And then I had a phone call with the catering lady or the private events. It happened to be a lady in this case, and she's okay. Tell me what the on the form said it was for a Christmas party, and we were going to have spouses and all of that. Did you want pre-prepped wine? Did you not want pre-prepped wine? Did you want to order off the wine list? Did you want to let them go to the highest level of the menu, or do you want to keep them under a certain dollar threshold? We went through all of that over the phone, and I made my decisions at the time. But I'll let you
Yes.
keep going. But yes, we I filled out the form, then I got a phone call. We scheduled a phone call on Zoom or Teams or whatever, jumped on a quick phone call, talked through what my experience that I wanted to have. And we did it off the menu, or maybe we even shrunk down the menu a little bit, but didn't go completely to 3 items, which we've all been at those dinings where
Oh,
you're like, oh, I get the Caesar salad or I get the French onion soup. Those are my two options today.
and I hate both.
But we've done that.
Yeah.
That's fine. There's times that that works, and then there's times that you're like, "Oh, I really wanted to try th can I pay for the tomato biscuit soup
Right.
myself?" Kinda things. We've all been there and done that if we've dined out on the corporate side, but I just find that some brands do it really well, and I'm not gonna pick on the one that I showed up and was, "Hey, we've got a party at 20," and nobody even knows that we're
Right.
coming, because that's happened too, and that's embarrassing, and that's really hard to figure out, and I'm like, "I'm in the restaurant business, and I'm taking a client out to dinner," and yeah, so
Yeah.
I'll let you keep going. What other best practices? So the pre-prep
Oh,
work you
yes.
started to say?
So again, if you have a restaurant and again, your website is critically important. People need to understand, ideally, if you can even have a picture of what is this private dining space going to look like. Cuisine, if you can have a couple images, beautiful images, it's absolutely worth spending the money on professional photography to give them a sense of maybe a signature dish. And the thing about what we do at Dinova is we're the invitation, the restaurant is the party, right? So
Mhm.
we can get them there. The restaurant has to do it well and execute
Execute.
and that's where we hand it off, and we have to trust that our restaurant operators are gonna take good care of our business diners. What's great is that the number of repeat visits from a new customer that we send to any restaurant, I just went through an analysis with our team yesterday for a brand, and I think the number of repeat visits in 6 months was 3 times for this brand, which a lot of brands will tell us, "Hey, we figured you could help us with the discovery. We're not sure how often these folks are coming to our market for
Mhm.
dining." They're usually really pleasantly surprised by the number of repeat visits, and that makes me think that our restaurant partners are executing because people, as you won't come back if they have a bad experience usually, and it's not rectified.
Mhm.
But there is something else that Dinova does for fine dining. We have a concierge service called Dine Assist, Dinova Dine Assist. You could
Okay.
just go online. You can see the form. If you Googled it, Dinova Dine Assist, it'll come right up. And we just help our business travelers figure out which restaurants in our network in the city they're traveling to can accommodate their group, right? So we'll figure out how many people do you need to serve? Does it need to be private or can it be semi-private? How close to the zip code where or the address of where your meeting is do you need this restaurant to be? We'll narrow it down to the top 3 and then from there take that they will pick one and then they'll deal directly with the restaurant on booking.
That's awesome, and again, I could see the repeat business. My neighbor who I go to the bus stop with, he works for Schwab, and he's always in Austin, then he's in Houston, then he's in Denver, and he always stays at the same hotel. He takes the same flights. He goes and so he's like, "You know what? It's just easy. I just know where I'm gonna have dinner tonight, and I know where I'm gonna have dinner tomorrow night, and I know I'm gonna have dinner the next night because it's just easy. It's one of these 3 places." And so from that perspective, that's not surprising, but unless you get discovered and get into that queue, because humans really are ultimately at the end of the day are creatures of habit. They don't want to make as many decisions as we think we
Right.
want to make. And it's like, you know what? I know if I go here that I'm going to get the meal that I need and deserve. So how do people learn more? How do people get engaged? Talk to me a little bit about what this would look like. I'm Perry's. I'm not a client. I don't know if they are or not. Doesn't matter. But now I'm sitting here and I'm Perry's Steakhouse and I'm listening to this and going, I need what Laura has. How do I learn more? How do I get engaged there to spend some time with you guys and figure out if it's right
Okay,
for me?
Perry's, I would absolutely love to meet you. I have not yet. And I've been in the restaurant in Austin, speaking of traveling in
Right.
Texas.
They're based in Houston. They fantastic every time I've ever gone. They're like one of my go-tos if they're in a city.
Yeah.
I love it. Happen to be a client. Awesome, awesome
Oh,
team
so
down there. But
great.
so maybe we can figure out how to
Okay,
get you
I'll
to
buy
them. But
dinner at Perry's next time I'm in Dallas, okay? That would be
awesome.
fun. So, yeah, so it's really just as easy as a 15-minute phone conversation to get a sense of, do you have open availability early and midweek? Is there a need? Because if not, then why would you offer our corporate clients any type of consideration for shifting their spending to you? So that's number
Hmm.
1 in that 15-minute exploratory call. It's for me to understand. I know from what you've shared about Perry's and just from seeing the restaurants myself that they would absolutely be of interest to a lot of our corporate clients. So there would definitely be interest. There's definitely a lot of money and dining spend being spent in the cities that they serve. And there is a need for more fine dining. So I know that we would have demand there for them. And then it would just be a matter of figuring out the economics of what's that loyalty rebate percent. How do
Mhm.
we make that as affordable as possible so that it pencils out? And we do that calculation together. And sometimes it does, and sometimes it doesn't. And that's okay. It usually does. But again, there has to be a need from the restaurant side.
I love that. So I'll put your and I know we talked about it. So you best way to connect with you, email, phone call, carrier
Yeah.
pigeon. I know you said LinkedIn. So how should they schedule that time with you and getting they're sitting listening, they're like, "Hey, we got to get this going." What would you suggest their next
I
steps
would
are?
say the easiest, if you're on LinkedIn, is just to find me, Laura Wilbur at LinkedIn. I'll come right up, or you could Google search me there. There's a button that says book a meeting for a 15-minute exploratory call just to find out if it is a fit. And I'll answer any question that you have. So email is easy, which is L Wilber, Wilber at Dinova.com. You can also go to the website to do your own research, Dinova.com, and click on for restaurants, and you'll be able to learn a lot about how it works.
Thank you for that. And as I said at the onset, there's a reason why everybody likes talking to you and hanging out with you because you really help restaurants and solve some problems that they might have, especially in that early part of the week. So thank you for coming on. Thank you for hanging out with our audience. To our audience, guys, like I said at the beginning, I know you guys have got lots of choices. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you know somebody that you want to have on the show, send them my way, restauranttechnologyguys.com. There's a requesting inquiry for being on the show. If you haven't already subscribed on whatever your podcast and or YouTube channel pleasure is, please do so. Laura, thank you so much. And to our listeners,